a two,
a 1, 2, 3. Let's talk about it, talk about it, talk about it, talk about it. Woo!
Yes, sir. Go, baby!
Wow. Holy jeez.
We're getting to it.
We are getting to it.
What episode we got, Frankie?
What's up, boys?
Oh, shoot.
Well,
Who are you guys?
Yeah. You're not
Oh,
Grizzly.
look at
Grizzly, you lost some weight.
I'm honored to be here.
Tom,
you
you
cut
lost
your
some
beard?
beard.
Dang.
Damn
That beard
it.
look good on you, man.
Yeah, it did look
I like
good
the
on you.
look.
Sometimes a new year.
I like the look.
New year, new me, right?
Sure.
New year,
My
new
name
me.
is from Tom to Travis. I'm from white guy to Chinese.
There you go.
New beard. You know how it
That's
is.
New year,
Go
new
from,
me,
from
bro.
the McGinney to Chinese.
That's it.
Yes, sir.
That's it.
Chinese New Year, baby.
It's true.
Circle of life.
It's true. The Yao Ming of merchant cash advance.
Yes, sir.
Oh, yeah.
And now,
Well,
hold on. Before
What-
we spoil the topic at hand.
Former Yao Ming
episode we got,
Introversion
Frank?
Captain.
Episode 60.
episode 6.
Episode 60. We're making strides. We're making waves.
We're getting old.
We're getting old. We're getting
pretty
up
damn
there.
old.
And you want to know what else is old?
What?
What we're going to be talking about today.
Oh.
The
Well.
Small Business Administration.
Yes.
The SBA, founded in 1957, founded in this office in 2025.
Yes, sir.
Our own SBA program, led by
Lex
Mr. Lex BA, led by Mr. Travis himself. So let's clap it up for Travis real quick for being a stud at what he does and for being picked to run the program. No one else better I'd rather have to run this program. You started recently with us, but you work hard, you grinded, you put in the work right away, you funded, you made money, you position yourself in a good way, and you're very knowledgeable in SBA. You came in being very knowledgeable. Second most knowledgeable to Chris Colucci, who definitely came in the most knowledgeable in SBA.
Yeah.
Yes,
Thank
sir.
you.
No doubt. But
Well-
yeah, before we get to the topic at hand,
We got to introduce ourselves.
Lex.
And we're starting with you.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. So my name is Travis Tang. I'm the director of our SBA division.
Tom Tang.
And yes, we're very excited about what we have in store.
Yes, sir.
And to your left, we have.
Yes, sir. Chris Colucci, team lead. Excited to be here.
Frankie D, CEO.
Appio Fragoletti, Director of Banking Relations.
Oh, no. Are you doing it?
And now, he's doing it. Introducing the number one.
It's gotta be us. It's gotta be us.
Drum roll, please.
Yes, sir.
Wow.
Here we have it.
Wow. Tom, when he comes back, if he watches this, which he will, he's gonna be a little jealous.
You might.
He'll be a little jealous.
You know what? I might just be having to get
I know
some
you've been in that
special
bank
suits
room
going.
practicing this
all day.
I know you have.
All
been.
day.
know
I got
you
no
have.
work done
The
today.
anticipation. But yeah, guys, I'm excited to dive into the topic at hand today. So, new program and product we rolled out. So, over at Lexington, we typically roll out a new product or program every like 2 to 3 quarters.
Yeah.
And now we felt we were poised and ready. We grew Appio's program enough to now grow the SBA department over here at Lexington. We were getting done a lot of SBAs without even trying, in my opinion. Chris was really helping run that and doing a really great job of it. But obviously, as the team lead, it was a lot on your plate. So we appreciate what you did. But we felt that we have the sales team to push the volume. We have the knowledge, we have the manpower. Now it's time to do it ourselves, right? You can only outsource for so long if you really want to build and grow.
Absolutely.
So without further ado, I'm going to leave it up to Travis, our director of SBA, to describe what the SBA program is.
Yes, absolutely. So SBA, to start off, it's a small business administration. That's a government organization. They basically set guidelines and standards for a multitude of different kinds of financing, and ultimately they release budgets. Almost every year, every quarter for these different programs. 9 times out of 10, people heard of it, don't really know what it is. There's a lot of nuance for it. So this is when we come into play, where we can essentially help clients roadmap how to get an SBA, whether it's today, whether it's next year. It's very important to understand, though, that there's different types of SBA. There's types that come out during disasters, more like a grant. You've ever heard of PPP, or for payroll during COVID, EIDL. Anytime there's a disaster, that's one type. Usually it's very easy to qualify for that. You don't necessarily have to have pristine financials, but the real SBA that's more retail, more relevant, is your traditional SBA business loans. And a lot of borrowers think that it's free money, but at the end of the day, it's really a prestigious product. You're going to have essentially the best interest rates across the board, the longest repayment terms across the board, the highest dollar amounts across the board. And a lot of borrowers, they should keep in mind that in order to apply for this, you should treat it like you're applying for a mortgage. You know, you need to have a strategy. You need to line up your profile. You need to maybe even get credit lines before applying. And this is when, you know, Lexington Capital Holdings is going to come into play. You know, we're developing a huge business here, 8-figure company on the way to 9. And we're going to have a lot of borrowers that can qualify for SBA, qualify for line of credit, qualify for cash advance. And that's where we're going to come into play, essentially pipelining, building a roster of business owners, ultimately relationships for the long term.
Agreed. And that's what the program is in essence. You know, we are a broker, so what should we do as being a good broker? Offer every product that there is available. So offering the most prestigious financial product for small to medium-sized business owners shows them that we're an expert in our field, that we care, that we want to offer these better products. And when the time and place is ready to take out a shorter working term, you know, cash advance or a line of credit or term loan with us, they're going to entrust us to do that. Right. Chris, I want to leave it to you to talk about the difference between the 7A and the 504, the two types of SBA loans.
Yeah. So a 504 is going to be used for anything real estate related, whether that's a commercial acquisition, a purchase. It has to be commercial. It can't be anything residential. The 7A is going to be used for more working capital, expansion, inventory, equipment purchases. So it's important that you know the differences. A 7A is going to go out 10 years maximum, while the 504 can go out 30 years.
Yeah. And what's funny enough about the 504 and the 7A is that you can actually get real estate, commercial real estate through the 7A as well.
Correct.
Through the 7A as well. They'll typically finance up to 90%. You got to put 10% down, which to some business owners on that initial discovery call with Travis, they're a little like 10%. But if you go to any commercial mortgage company out there, they're going to charge you 25 to 35%. Correct. So it's definitely going to be your cheapest. Hopefully you qualify for an SBA because it's going to be your cheapest start to being able to own and operate a building.
Correct.
For sure. Appio, why do you think it's advantageous to work with an SBA broker?
Well, just as it's advantageous to work with any broker, there are certain lenders that fit your file best, right? Not all banks, not all SBA lenders are going to have an appetite for your profile. Yes, the SBA is backing the majority of that loan, but the bank is still putting themselves at risk by working with you. And there are different banks that like different types of industries. There are banks that will fund farms and agriculture much more than construction and real estate and business consulting and et cetera. So working with a broker, they know exactly where to bring your file, which exact SBA lender or preferred SBA lender to bring you to get you the results that you're looking for. You know, it's a long process to begin with. You guys will I'm sure jump into the exact timelines on a lot of these processes, but if you start the process with the wrong bank and they end up not really preferring you, you just might have wasted 3 months of your time for nothing.
Agreed.
When you could have went to the right broker in the first place, who would have put your file with the right bank in the first place and not wasted those 3 months of your time.
Agreed. And like what my goal is, and I know what Travis's goal is because we collaborate a lot, is that we want to streamline the SBA program. We essentially want to, I know everyone says it, but we want to change the game and how SBA has been played. No knock on anybody, but typically the men and women who do SBA modern day, they're on the older side. Like Chris. I'm kidding. I'm totally kidding. Our 30-year-old, our young buck.
So old.
But yeah, they're typically on the older side, so they don't have that grit, they don't have that hustle, they don't have the drive to want to get these files done a lot quicker, right? There's a lot of things that we could do in nuances in between that we could really push the bank, we could push the borrower in a good way, right? To get the loan across the finish line. Could be days, could be weeks, could even be a month in advance, right? If so, we want to cut everything in half. If you typically get an SBA loan in 60 days, if someone tells you that, we want to get it done in 30. If someone's telling you 30, we want to get it done in 15, 45, 30, right? We're trying to almost cut this thing in half or a third. So that's our biggest goal. We really want to streamline this process, make it easier for business owners, and make SBA's great again.
Yes.
Make people want to take them out, right? Because
Yes.
a lot of these business owners, they're willing to take the short-term capital because it's just like they don't want to provide the financials. They don't want to go through the 60, 90 days. They don't want to do that, right? But what they don't realize is there's different lenders and different banks, non-bank lenders, that could do SBAs in 3 weeks, a month and a half, right? They just might not have access or have knowledge about these people, and that's where we come in.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I think that the market's become very saturated with the cash advance types of loans, and a lot of people, they see the money in it. A lot of the other brokers and the other people that are selling these types of loans, they see the money in it. They see the high ticket percentages that they're getting and the quick money.
Yeah.
But that's not going to keep you in business forever.
It's true.
You know,
Delayed
it's a fad to an extent. It's a fad to an extent, and these longer term products, they take more time, and you're not getting 10 to 20% commission on it. You're getting 1 or 2% commission on it, but it's a much bigger ticket item. Yes, it takes more time, But I really think that that Lexington Capital Holdings is really going to help bring this back to the masses and push some of the harsher products out to really help out these American business owners.
Agreed. My other point to what I was talking about before is, as the other end of the spectrum is, there's older people in SBA. What are the younger people selling? They're selling the cash advances. They're selling the quicker products. They don't have the delayed gratification, probably because like social media and all that BS nowadays, to wait a month, 2-3 months to get paid on a deal. We're more than willing to do that, get the borrower the best deal, build and establish the relationship, but we're also young, we're hungry, so we're going to streamline the process. So like I said before, we just want to cut the time down. We want to make people want to get SBAs again and be willing to go through the process, and we'll hold their hand through the entire thing.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
It's really just a pipeline thing. You know, like sometimes you have a borrower, they might just be shy of qualifying for an SBA product. And as a broker that only sells cash advances, you'll be tempted to just, say, you know what, cash advance or die. And at the end of the day, when you're a company like Lexington Capital, we're looking at the long term. We can, take less profits for the interim. And so if we know that he's maybe 3 months away from an SBA, we can give him a roadmap, an exact strategy to get that. And this way, it's really in the merchant's court. The ball's in the merchant's court.
Agreed.
We can give them the exact strategy, verbatim, what they need to do to get the line of credit they want, the SBA that they want. And if they're game for the long term, the long process, we pipeline it and we show them that we're legit. We're calling them from 6 in the morning if they need to call us early. If they're only available at 9 at night, we'll call them at 9 at night. And if it's going to be 6 months later, we'll do the same exact thing, and they'll see the consistency. And this is when you really secure the relationship, which will ultimately secure the SBA loan for the client.
Yeah. One thing that you said in there is that these other people who really only offer 1 or 2 or 3 different products, it's you take this and take it. Or die, take this or die. I'm going to shove this down your throat. It's because they don't have a full financial marketplace like us being a super broker that we have. We have those avenues where we don't have to shove it down your throat, right? And that's not how you're going to earn trust with your client. That's not how you're going to have a forever client. You might make a quick sale out of it, but what you're saying is that when you place them into the right product and you have everything that they can possibly take out, they're much more comfortable with you. They trust you. And they're going to want to work with you throughout their business's lifetime and refer clients over as well, instead of having something shoved down their throat time and time again.
Agreed. Chris, I wanted to ask you, do only banks give out SBAs?
No. So there's definitely some alternative lenders that you can still get SBA loans from too. That's definitely something a lot of borrowers under, a wrongful impression.
Yeah. It's true. So there's about, 21?
There's about 21. They're called SBLCs, Small Business Lending Companies. Mm-hmm. And these are non-depository banks. They don't offer checking accounts and saving accounts. They don't make money off of credit cards. They don't offer those. Literally, they just specialize in SBA financing. So if you were to go toe-to-toe, say you had your local bank versus an SBLC and you wanted an SBA loan, 99 times out of 100, you're going to be better off going with the SBLC because they're going to be dedicated. They're going to have a track record already of originations, and they're going to have a streamlined system to get you approved. Unlike the bank, where the banker, out of formality, has to offer it, but he might not even know what to do with your file. He might have to go through 3, 4, 5 middle people to even get you answers, and you might end up wasting your time and not getting the loan that you're looking for. Not using an SBLC.
Episode 120.
That's something though that a lot of borrowers too, right? Or I don't know where they hear it from, or if you don't have much experience, some people think you could just go to the SBA directly, right, and get the money.
Correct.
But come to the realization that you have to go through an approved lender, and that's why it's so important, right, to have someone in your corner or a company like ours, like Lexington, that's gonna hold your hand and not just be limited to one single bank or option.
What is the breakdown in liability from the SBA's aspect to the bank's aspect?
So typically it's between 75 and 85% the SBA will guarantee. And if it's going to be below, what is it?
If it's below 150K, it's going to be about 50%.
About 50%.
Correct.
Nice.
Yeah, agreed. And then there's this thing called being a preferred SBA lender or a non-preferred SBA lender.
Yes.
So if you're a preferred SBA lender, basically the SBA entrusts you to underwrite the file in-house and to fully close the deal in-house without having to check with the SBA.
Correct.
So these non-preferred
Wow.
lenders, basically what they have to do is they're going to do an underwrite in-house, and they have to go, hey, big brother, hey, SBA, does this fit the box? Which then extends out the process even longer, right? Because I promise you, these lenders or banks who are not a preferred lender, they're not going to tell you that. They didn't want to make sure that you don't know that. And then that just doubles the process as well, doubles the time frame on it.
That's correct.
So, yeah.
And then one major thing that sets Lexington apart is the fact that we do cross-sell different products, but we're not jacks of all trades. we have a director for our line of credit, we have a director for our SBA, and we have a specific set of guys closing our MCAs. And this makes a big difference because we're not just a marketplace now. We literally have the best of each product, and you have someone that's on the phone that's going to be speaking to you that has a track record, knows exactly the ins and outs of the program, and you're really going to get such an streamlined process and service. Dealing with a company like this. Aside from a company that just playing application roulette, right? Oh, what program do you want to apply for? SBA? Let me just send you to 5 banks. I need 50 docs. What am I going to qualify for? We'll see.
Yeah.
No, right? We're going to have that conversation up front. We don't want to waste our time. We close deals and we're working with you and we're continuing to ask for more documentation. The clients know that there's a really strong chance they're going to qualify. And that's half the battle, just having the faith and not running up your credit cards, during the process, not applying for, other financing. And that's when you really know you did a good job with the client.
Yeah.
Agreed. What was that?
I like the way that he put that a lot. And I think that's so important for us. Before we rolled out with the facilitating SBA in house, I knew a little bit about SBA, and I would go to Colucci all the time and ask him questions because there's people in our pipeline for the Lex Talk for a month and a half, and things pop up throughout conversation. We're having lots of conversation with these folks, and I think that it's so important to have an expert for each program that we do offer. Because it's like Lexington Capital Holdings is the general contractor, and you're the flooring subcontractor. I'm the electrical subcontractor, and they're the painting guys. So that's all they do, day in and day out. Ain't nobody gonna lay down floor like you do. Isn't anybody gonna educate you on the SBA like you do? Isn't nobody's gonna talk about lines of credit and traditional bank products and 0% interest business credit cards like I do, and nobody's gonna talk about their deals to cash advances like they do.
It's true.
Correct.
Agreed. Let's talk about how do you qualify for an SBA.
Sure.
Travis, you want to take it home?
Yeah, so you always like to work your way backwards when you're qualifying, right? You want to figure out if there's anything underlying on the client's profile that will make them get declined, right? Bankruptcies, felonies that have financial crimes related to it or dishonesty. If you recently defaulted on stuff, taxes, all this kind of stuff, you want to bring it to light. It's a little bit sensitive, but you don't want to waste your time again. It is a prestigious business loan. Let's say you have that already covered. Now you're talking about income, right? In order to get an SBA loan, you need to be able to afford the payments. So either your business that's applying needs to be able to afford it, or if you're starting a business that's new or acquiring a business, you need to be able to provide projections that make sense geographically to your industry and analytically to qualify. So there's just so much nuances to qualifying. In reality, the best thing to do is just to speak to an SBA advisor or a broker, and they can dissect your profile. First understand what your goal is, how much you're looking to get, and then you can go from there. That's like a general way to put it. There's so many different programs, so it's hard to just give somebody a straightforward answer until you know what they're looking to do.
Yeah, but there are certain nuances that usually always stay the same. They're like, you're always going to be 2 years time in business. Certain lenders could go as low as like 620 on the credit. I actually spoke to one BDO that said he funded a deal last year at 588 credit, so that the guy cash flowed very well and had a lot of collateral. So that's basically how they were able to get that deal done. And then you typically really want to be around like 680, I'd say. And then the 2 years time in business. And then revenue, funny enough, isn't like the biggest deal. Like they could go as low as like $150 a year in revenue. The SBA goes as low as $25,000 in microloans and can go as high as $5 million on the 7A. One thing that I think is interesting about the SBA is that cash flow is king. So cash flow is going to be the number one thing that's going to be able to get you approved over credit and over collateral. I feel like everyone that I talk to always thinks it's very collateral based, it's very collateral heavy, which is not true. If you profit a few $100,000 in your tax returns, as long as you're not like a degenerate on your personal side and you're using your business to fund like vacations and family and stuff like that, whatever, like some business owners do, then you're going to qualify for an SBA, and you could probably get a few million at that as well. So.
Exactly.
Are there SBA products where they require you to get a life insurance policy?
So a lot of lenders do want to see you have a life insurance policy in play, and some might need you to do it before closing. Yes, that is true. That is true.
The amount comes into play with that?
The amount does come into play. Yeah, and that's why that is on the personal financial statement. That's something that they ask.
That's pretty neat.
Yeah, that's definitely neat. One thing I also want to talk about is typical standard documents that you're going to need when applying for an SBA loan. To me, obviously, it's gonna be an SBA application. It's gonna be a PFS, the SBA 413 form. It's gonna be 2 to 3 years of business and personal tax returns, and then typically interim financials like a debt schedule, profit and loss, and a balance sheet. That's typically what you're gonna need on the upfront. Some banks will allow less. Some non-bank lenders will allow less. So you need to speak to the bank and just say, hey, what minimum docs or qualifications can we give you on the upfront. Some might be just cool with tax returns and a debt schedule so they could figure out the debt, the debt service coverage ratio. So it really kind of all just depends. Which does want to lead me into, because we talked about cash flow, let's talk about debt service coverage ratio. I'm a little bit here. Either one of you guys want to talk about it?
Yeah, debt service coverage ratio. So cash flow is king, right? So what they're going to look into is how much money is going out towards debt on a yearly basis. So this is your personal financials, right? What are you paying towards mortgages? What are you paying towards your personal loans, auto loans, personal credit cards, anything on the books, right? And then on the business side, same thing. Anything on the books, business credit cards, existing SBA loans, commercial real estate, equipment financing, again, even tax liens. If you have a tax lien on a payment plan, that's considered on your debt schedule, the monthly payment obligation. And then you're going to look at your SBA loan that you're going for, right? So the dollar amount on that one, the monthly payments for the year, it needs to make sense. If you're paying out, say, $50,000 for your SBA loan, for a good example, is a $500,000 loan. It's $80,000 a year, right? So let's say you're paying out $95,000 a year in debt. There's literally zero debt to cover that SBA $500,000, right? So it doesn't really make sense. So that's what you have to understand. It's just a matter of what your goals are, right? If the client says, I want $500,000, you dissect their profile, there's only room for, say, like $75,000. That's when it's our job to give them that, heads up. And instead of just telling them, again, application roulette, just submit, we got to tell them up front, have that hard conversation, and ultimately save everybody time, and then ultimately actually get the client funded, regardless of what they said they want. And you just got to confirm if they can actually use the smaller amount, if that's the case. But debt service coverage ratio is basically, sum it up short, it's the debt you're paying out per year divided by, it's your
net operating income divided
your
by
net your net operating income, the available cash flow after all your top line revenue and your profit on your business. So the profit of the business divided by the debt you're paying out per year.
Correct. Yeah. And then you'll compile a score. The SOP rules for the SBA state that you need to be at a 1.15. Some banks or non-bank lenders will go a little below. Some want to see a little bit higher. I'd say if you got a 1.30, you're usually pretty good to go, and you'll definitely qualify. Anything a little below that, I'd say it depends on the bank. So, but that was a good point to bring up. And then there's also global. So that's, I know you brought that up a little bit, but that's gonna be on the personal side. So that is also another nuance about working with us or working with a non-bank lender compared to going to your local bank. Because a lot of people say, I'm going to my local bank, right?
Correct.
Most local banks, when you go in there, first of all, they're gonna ask you for the whole shebang. They're gonna ask you for everything. They take into account your global debt service coverage ratio. So all personal assets and liabilities that you have, and they're gonna calculate that, and they're gonna build that into your business and see if you're qualified through your personal.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
And so that's what we do. I mean, at the end of the day, when you're dealing with specialists, we do a lot of legwork behind the scenes. The borrowers we work with don't even see. The amount of hours that Appio has put into researching and networking with different bankers. The amount of hours that me and Frankie are actively right now putting into networking with bankers, researching the insights. And now when we speak to the client, we dissect their whole entire personal profile, dissect their whole entire business profile, and now we can essentially pre-qualify them for up to 30, 40, 50 different lenders that we know on the spot before actually making them sign the applications and making them commit to actual time and effort to get the loan.
Agreed.
You could almost say that we're a preferred broker.
I'd say the SBA is going to say Lexington's the number one preferred broker out there.
I like that.
I know one day we're going to have bankers just calling us left and right and just saying, can I work with you? Can I work with you? Can I work with you? No doubt. We're already getting our name out there already. So it's really good to see. Funny enough, so we talked about number one most important thing in SBA is going to be cash flow. So cash flow is king. Second thing, it's not collateral. In my opinion, it's credit. So credit's going to be the next important thing. And then third would be collateral. You could get a lot of deals done by just cash flow and by really good credit. And you don't necessarily need any collateral whatsoever. So it's funny how the SBA works. And it's funny like how the false misconceptions about it.
It's funny you say that. It's like a lot of people would think that SBA, they're almost scared to apply with SBA because it's the government.
Yeah.
I don't want the government in my business.
Yeah.
If I have a loan with them, they're going to be checking on me. They're going to be coming after me.
Yeah.
In reality, again, it's actually through actual banks. The government administration is just insuring the loan. And SBA loan banks typically are way easier to deal with than your actual traditional banks. Traditional banks are scared to lend nowadays. They make it impossible. They make you put up your house almost every single time. They make you go through insane wait times to even find out if you have a chance. And SBA has become almost a stopgap for business owners that know that understand what's going on. They know it's real, and you'll see that when I find a client at SBA, the first deal might be really hard to make them believe it, but once it's funded, they come back almost every year.
Agreed.
The government already knows everything about you anyway. They know how many pieces of toilet paper
If you pay taxes, they know about you. Chris, what is the SBA credit scoring model that they go by? Is it Experian? Is it TransUnion?
FICO score 8.
FICO score 8.
Yeah, most banks would pull off of Equifax, but there's definitely, again, there's so many lenders out there. There's some pulling other bureaus as well.
Agreed.
FICO score 8 is definitely the most common. It just seems to be the most reliant and the most common FICO score model. There's some other models out there. The FICO 10 I'm a big fan of because they look at more longevity behind your credit. But FICO 8 is definitely the largest and most commonly used, and our side of things as well.
Agreed. And what do they check on the business side, Travis?
The business, they're checking so many factors. I mean, they check geographical location. They have what's called a LUMO score. They're checking, the performance on people that are a similar industry getting SBA loans, how they're paying that back, the analytics. They're checking your business trade lines. And, if there's anything, delinquent, formerly delinquent, actively delinquent. And there's just so many factors. If you literally Google the SBA credit model, it's called the E-Tran, right? And it's a combination of all these different factors in your personal. There's no actual straightforward definition of what E-Tran is. So they do gatekeep the actual definition of what it is. And it's just so many different factors. At the end of the day, you want to just recommend people to just control what they can control, which is staying current on all your debt, personal and business, adding trade lines, having available trade lines, and having, history, let them age. And then ultimately, from there, you guys just work with your own profile. Everyone's built different. Yeah. And once you understand your profile, you understand what kind of loans you should be applying for.
Agreed. And typically E-Tran/SBSS score, small business scoring system, for one, it's based out of 0 through 300. Banks typically, SBA lenders typically want to see you at a $155 minimum. That's the minimum for the SOP. And typically, from what we know from our research, it's 65% based on personal credit, 35% based on business credit, and that's how they compile their score. But like any other credit, it's just a made-up fictional number that some people, engineers, decide to make up, and then that's what they said that your SBSS score is. So
what did you say the percentage was personal to business?
65 personal, 35 business.
65 personal, 35 business.
Yep.
I know that we have a lot of referral partners that refer that specialize in SBAs, and they refer their clients over for Lex Talk specifically because Lex Talk is the fastest business credit building program out there.
Yeah.
Because we know business credit is built pretty much strictly through pay history.
Yep.
And with the Lex Talk program, you'll have pay history with a couple of different banks simultaneously.
Yep.
And so I could certainly see why these referral partners are referring their clients over for the Lexington line of credit prior to obtaining them their SBAs to build that business credit for them, add those trade lines to their business accounts. It certainly
100%.
makes a lot of sense there.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Absolutely. And now we got it in-house, just bouncing back and forth, bouncing back and forth. And that's another thing that these brokers don't understand is, like, if you have somebody through an SBA process, if you're holding their hand for a few weeks to a month or 2-3 months max, if it's like a bigger deal, they might need some cash in between, right?
Absolutely.
So now they're obviously going to
finance it for a reason.
Exactly. So now, what do you think they're going to go? They're going to go to some random other guy? No. Me and Travis make every client aware that we don't just offer SBAs. We are SBA experts, but we are also line of credit experts. We're term loan experts. We're short-term working capital experts. We really understand it and know it all. So if there's anything that you need in between this process, please don't be afraid to reach out, and we'll take care of it. We started the program not too long ago. We've already pivoted a bunch of people over back to short-term working capital because they know they could just go ahead, pay it off, get some early payoff discount benefits involved, and then eventually secure their SBA and then pay it right off. So
Exactly.
I'm not gonna lie, guys. You're not gonna like to hear this.
Oh no! Did you take out a biddy?
I got stacked.
Vader and biddy.
There was a solid 24 hours where I was like, "Oh man, SBA is gonna take money out of my pocket."
Dude.
It was 24 hours. It was 24 hours.
Dude.
It was 24 hours.
Dude, it's gonna
Appreciate
add
your
money
honesty.
to your pocket.
24 hours.
It's gonna add money to your pocket, dude.
But the past 100 hours,
Yeah.
and after that 24 hours, it all came to fruition. It's like I grew up 2 years, and I'm just so excited for everything to take into fruition.
Yeah.
I am so excited. It gets me giddy.
It's gonna be fun.
You guys are crushing it.
Appreciate
We are
that.
crushing it.
We are
the
crushing it.
program. It's amazing. And I'm kind of speechless. I'm kind of just jumbling because of how excited it does get me.
I appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, me and Travis, we're a two-man duo right now. We got Alex, we got Frank helping us out right now, and Appio built a team of 12 people within a year and a half. So hopefully that's something that we can go ahead and do ourselves as well. So that
1 year from
that's
now, we'll
gonna
have a
be
podcast about it.
I like that. Lex BA.
Does that mean I have like
Lex
6
BA.
months to start mine?
Chris,
Yes, sir.
question for you. I have an SBA already. Can I get another?
Yes, sir. So you can apply for another SBA. What is it? Every 90 days?
Typically 90 days.
Yep.
Is your rule of
Typically
thumb.
90 days, yes.
What is it, up to 5 million?
Up to 5 million.
Up to 5 million. That's
Yeah, up
pretty
to
awesome.
5
Now, of course, the affordability still comes into play, like Travis was saying, right? And debt service cover ratio is still a big factor in that. So, right, they're going to factor in that other SBA loan that you have and see what it is in terms of affordability. But if the affordability is still there, you can get another SBA loan every 90 days.
So that makes sense. That's why the debt service coverage ratio, if you are at a 1.15, you get your first SBA, you pay off one of your credit cards and you pay off one of your pieces of equipment, you're back up to a 1.3, then
Yeah.
you can get yourself another SBA.
Yeah.
Now it's all coming together.
Yeah. And there's strategic like nuances behind that. Like a lot of people think just because they have a lot of debt, they can't qualify for an SBA. But if you're willing to pay off some of the debt with the SBA, that could help you qualify. You could recalculate your DSCR just like you were talking about. So that could be huge. And that's something that not a lot of people know. And that's something that like a Joe Schmo at your local bank wouldn't even do.
Correct.
You know, he would just look at your debt schedule, look at all your finance. Nah, not going to work. You know?
And the SBA will pay it directly to those lenders.
Yeah, they'll go ahead and they'll pay it right off. Just like if they're trying to purchase a piece of equipment, they'll do it right there. Because although they do trust the borrower, they want to make sure that the money is definitely going there. We brought up a little bit about the use cases of the 7A specifically. The 7A is going to be, it's the dominant product between that and the 504, obviously. A lot more 7As get pushed out every single year. But the typical use cases for the 7A, I'd say the biggest from talking to a lot of BDOs recently is going to be acquisition. Acquisition is crazy heavy. They love startup franchises. Don't really like regular startups, but they'll do it. They'll do general working capital. They love commercial real estate. And they like debt refi. So those are really like the 4, 5, 6 like use cases for SBA. And that's the most important thing in my point to this is that someone can't just wake up and say, I want an SBA. There has to be a specific use of funds. Like if you just want general working capital and say 100K and you want 500K and you're saying 100K to marketing, 100K to payroll, 100K to this piece of equipment, 100K to this, 100K to that, you have to list out the use of funds and like actually prove that you're using the funds for that. Payroll is a little bit harder to prove, but like for the equipment, like you're damn sure. Marketing, you're damn sure. And for instance, like if you spent like 10 grand last year on marketing and now you want to spend 200 grand, like that doesn't make sense.
You
brother.
need justification. They're big on the use of funds, and being it's government backed, they essentially want the funds going to bettering the environment, if you want to call it, or creating job opportunities, expansion that's going to open up, opportunity for further growth for the business and the surrounding area. But yeah, they will look into that, and if you're listing equipment, right, they're going to ask for invoices. You need a detailed use of funds. You need to have a plan in place that they're okay with.
And there's a lot of entrepreneurs out there that want to acquire a business, buy a laundromat, whatever it may be, even though they don't have any experience. And we have clients where I took a class, or my parents had one growing up, or my wife had one growing up. But you do have to have that experience if you want to acquire a laundromat. You have to have worked or owned or worked at or have experience in a laundromat in order to get the SBA to acquire that new laundromat.
And to add to Appio's point, a lot of entrepreneurs nowadays, they don't want to actually operate the businesses they have. They want to have passive income.
That's why.
So a lot of people
imagine business being passive income. like, that's the fakest thing I've ever heard in my life, dude.
Exactly. And so many business owners, they have so many ideas. They want to have this Airbnb that. They want to have a dry cleaning business that they don't even run. They want to have a car wash they don't even run. Yeah. Can I get SBA for that? Absolutely not. At the end of the day, they want to see that they're starting a business for someone that's looking to become an entrepreneur and operate the business and essentially, help you not have a job. But at the end of the day, they're not looking to do passive investments. You can't, use SBA money to buy Bitcoin. You can't use SBA money to buy an apartment to rent out to people.
Yeah,
buy cars to lease out to people. It's supposed to be for business financing that you're operating, a business that you're operating.
It's a very prestigious product. Like you mentioned from the get-go, it goes out 10 years. You, as a business owner, if you're planning on growing your business and longevity-wise, see yourself, operating 20 plus years. This is a relationship you eventually want in place, but it's definitely not for everyone. And like you said, the entrepreneurs or people just starting, the qualifications to get an SBA loan is very tough. They do their due diligence, but it doesn't mean you can still set yourself up to get that relationship in place. And if for the time being you only qualify for alternative financing or something else, that's what's great about working with someone like us.
What are your guys' opinions? Because I like what you said before, how the SBA, being that they're government, they care about the country, right? They want to build the economy. They want you to offer more jobs and overall be a benefit to this country. How does the SBA feel about somebody that maybe does have experience with the laundromat, but a laundromat, the reason I picked that was because exactly how you said before, they just want to buy something as passive income, and it's not really going to add many jobs to the economy. How much more difficult is it? I'm sure it's possible. How much more difficult is it to get something for a business like that where it's just you running it yourself and there's no other job opportunities, it's not really doing much to benefit that local economy.
At the end of the day, it is benefiting the local economy because they're servicing customers at a cheap rate. Obviously, people go to laundromats for a reason, right? Because maybe they can't afford a washing or drying machine inside of their house, or they live in an apartment complex. So I think that's more the way that they think about it. Obviously, it's not going to produce as much jobs as, say, us and we would, but it still is, building the American dream for a small business owner who might then pass that business down. And for all you know, they could maybe start up the biggest laundromat, franchise of all time, and then they employ millions and billions of people. So I think it's more just like helping the small to medium-sized business owners just grow, which also helps the economy. Not necessarily, employing people, but also keep in mind we're really the ones paying for it. It's a government-backed program. It's paid by taxpayers, right? So we're really the ones funding these small to medium-sized businesses. And funny enough, if enough of these businesses default and the SBA sees that they're losing a lot of money on their balance sheet at the end of the year. They'll readjust, or they could possibly even get rid of the program completely. So I've never heard talks about that, but I mean, if you default on enough loans, clearly they've engineered the process well enough to be around for 60, 70, 80 years. I haven't seen their balance sheet. I don't know if it's to the public.
Well, I saw a fun fact. I saw the SBA put out double the money last year than they did the year before.
Dude, so funny you brought that up because I wanted to bring that up, and that's a big reason
huge.
why me and Travis are so chomping at the bit to do this, and the company in general. It's dude, rates were so high last year, and then you're telling me we doubled up in SBA loan production compared to the year before. Wow, the economy's growing still. Small to medium sized businesses are still doing this. People are still opening up businesses.
Rates were down in the dirt 2 years ago, 3 years
Dirt.
ago because of COVID.
Dirt.
That's a very interesting stat.
4% SBAs, 5% SBAs.
And what's the stat where it's this percentage of employees in America are employed by small businesses?
60-65%.
65% of America is employed by small businesses, not large. So SBA sees that. There's stats out there. Something like 70% of businesses that go under is because of cash flow related reasons. Something like 80% of small, medium, and large size business owners apply for financing on a yearly basis. So SBA sees that even if they default on it, at least you're giving business owners and ultimately America's economy the best chance at growth because you're giving them longest terms. You're giving them deals that they don't have to put up their house and they don't have to lose their physical assets, and they can ultimately have their best chance. It might not always work, but it is genuinely like Frankie said, business owners deserve it. It's not something that they necessarily have to earn it. They deserve it if they qualify.
Agreed.
It's meant for them.
100%. Not everyone's born with hundreds of thousands of dollars, and all self-made millionaires are self-made millionaires and how to do it on their own. And most people who are millionaires are self-made millionaires. It's 70 or 75% are self-made millionaires. So they did it by a dream, having some capital to start that dream and invest it and work their very hardest. And it's the backbone of the economy at the end of the day. So I'm happy that we could even be involved in this, and the loans could still get pretty big. They call it small business administration, but $5 million, it's a pretty number for anybody who's doing less than 10, 15, 20 million in revenue like that could really, tremendously help them. But you also don't want to over leverage these business owners, and you want to make sure that you're getting them the right dollar amount. And a nuance with SBA too is you don't want to ask for too high of a dollar amount. You want to make sure that they can afford it. So if you go to a lender and the guy could realistically only afford $250, be like, screw it, I'm going to just try for $500. And this isn't a good BDO who's willing to go to bat for you. That could kill the deal entirely by not asking for the smaller dollar amount because that's based off of what he could afford. Yeah. That's a little
we deal with that in the bank room a lot as well. Structuring our applications. I want 100. I want 100,000. I want 200,000.
You can't afford that.
Oh, take it easy. Let's get you 25, 50 here, and 75 there. We're gonna get there.
Yeah.
They got on the phone with the banker. Screw it. Appio said I want 200,000.
I know, so funny,
John.
And the banker's like, Appio, I thought you said 50,000. John's saying 200,000. John did 200,000 in revenue last year. How the heck can we get him 200,000?
That's why it really is so important to work with the proper lender, though. In regards to what we were saying about the use of funds, going back to that, the SBA is very particular about the use of funds. That's something with, if you're working with the right person, they're going to advise you on what you can and can't use the use of funds. Whereas, again, if you're working with the wrong guy and they don't know that, like we were just saying, they submit your application with the wrong use of funds, and now not only are they maybe, getting you disqualified, but they're prolonging your process too. And I hate to say that alone we speak to so many borrowers that have a bad taste in their mouth from the SBA or heard of another person who had a bad experience. And again, it goes back to really who you're working with and if they know what they're doing properly.
Agreed. We're going to change the game. We're going to kill it.
We really are.
We're going to kill it. And I spoke about it with Travis. You know, there's a blue ocean inside of SBA. Like, there's just not a lot of people brokering out SBAs. Like, it's either like single guys, like just older men like doing it who like retired or whatever, and there's like a few like small companies, you know, what I mean, that also do it. But none of them are that efficient. They're not that streamlined. They don't have a good process. They don't update their partners, their affiliates. Like, it's just
they don't have the patience.
Yeah, they don't have the patience. So it's just like we're gonna steamroll all of them. We have the energy, we have the grit, we got the grind inside of us, we got the charisma. We're gonna do it. With Travis at the helm, I know we're gonna be successful. So I'm very excited.
All I gotta do is he makes it easy. I just gotta follow the leader over here. But even like us, right? We're not even necessarily that talented or that special, but like we just do certain things. We control what we can control, right? Like a lot of borrowers, they just don't have time to do applications and all this paperwork until they get out of work.
Yeah.
When do they get out of work? 7, 8, 9 o'clock.
Yeah.
You know, when are they free? I'm only free on Sunday or Saturday. You don't work on that day, right, Travis? No. Let's schedule it right on the calendar right now.
Yep.
You know, 2 p.m. on the dot Saturday. Is that what you need? No problem. And we can literally take care of it, and it just changes the game. You know, it's not just bank statements and application. So we sit down with the borrower, we take that time to get to know them, you know, make sure they apply the right way, and then it ultimately reduces the friction, the back and forth, the revisions they have to always make that ultimately just burns them out, overwhelms them. You know, there's a cool fun fact I saw on Amazon, one-click buy. So when people buy through one-click buy, it's about a 70% conversion. When they buy through 2 clicks, it's about 30% conversion.
Wow.
So just 1 click makes that big of a difference. And we want to make sure that if they apply with us, instead of a 5-week close, it's a 3-week close. Instead of a 4-week close, it's a 2-week close.
Yep.
You know, instead of a 60-day close, it's a 40-day. And that makes all the difference in the world because time is money at the end of the day.
Time is money.
Time is money,
And
especially for these business owners.
And what time is it right now? 10, 15?
Something like that.
I know what I'm doing after this. I got
like
to get back to work. I know what you guys are.
We gotta get back to. We gotta get back to.
I know you got to get to bed. So
you got to work around the clock, especially as a brokerage. It's funny because a lot of the bankers that we speak to, they're like, "Yeah, I work brokerage hours." I'm like, "You get it, you get it, man, you get it, dude." A lot of these guys are cleaning the deal.
Or they say broker hours, I mean 9 to 6:30.
Yeah, you know what it is.
I probably have like 2 text messages from bankers giving me some updates right now since we've been here.
These bankers are still incentivized. Like, yes, they're W-2 employees and they get a salary, but they're getting some sort of compensation or incentive. So if you find the right guy, he could really help you out, for a fact.
Yeah.
Or woman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The right person.
The right person. The right human being.
The right nowadays.
Whatever you are, just be good at it. But yeah, we definitely got a huge blue ocean over here, and I'm just happy that, you know, we're developing the products and programs. And like, one thing I could say, since I developed every product, program, and department here, is that what took us a year and a half to grow in Lex Talk, which really could have been like a year and some change, maybe like a year and 3 months. We prolonged a little longer than we had to. I'm definitely learned from a lot of mistakes that I made with that program, and now I think we could cut it down to half the time. Like, my goal is to get out of SBA in 6 to 8 months. That is my goal. First, I'm definitely going to hire somebody a lot quicker, because me and Appio were the only ones working in that program for about 7 to 8 months. That was it.
Yeah.
Obviously, shout out Grizzly, shout out Tom. They were helping us with back end work, but we didn't physically hire someone for the long term. Carlos, shout out Carlos.
I was about to say.
Who just left not too long ago, because he's a dog and he's a savage. He's a great family man. And yeah, and then I just feel like I made a mistake by not hiring, you know, too early. And Appio and me talk about it all the time. We have a dream team, but our dream team hasn't been assembled for long enough, right? So wait till our dream team is a few years in. It's going to be really freaking scary. You know, shout out Omar, shout out Chris Crane, shout out Casey, shout out Bank Frank, shout out Fernando, shout out New Geo, shout out Ty / Poofy. I think that's the group, right?
Yeah,
there's a few more.
Omar.
Omar.
Poof.
I can't forget Omar. I forgot Omar's name at the Christmas party. He's not letting me live that down. He's not letting me live it down. He's so upset about it. I love you, Omar.
He holds grudges, Omar.
Yeah. Well, you know what? We can hold grudges because he won't even watch this. He's not even going to watch this, dude. He's never watched our podcast.
If you're watching this, just come up to us and say the word yellow.
Yeah, yellow. Just know, next Christmas party, Omar, I'll give you a shout out. But yeah, and it's just trial and error every single day. So it's like, I know like the next department that I'm going to build out, if I get Travis's done in like 8 months, I get the next one done in like 4 months. That's my goal.
So and you're welcome.
And this is what's going to take
a couple great. You're welcome.
Definitely appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm not easy to work with, and it's not easy to start a program. As Appio knows, as a lot of people know here, you know, it's not for the weak, you know. But if you want to do better, if you want more for yourself, if you want to make more money, we all know what it really entails, right? You got to put in the hours, you got to put in the man work, you know, and you got to be willing to lose, fail, grind, and do things that other people aren't willing to do. And that's how you be successful. Like Travis said, no one sitting here is that special. Correct. No one. We just work very hard.
Yes. One thing to add to your point about the dream team, I agree. We're like a startup dream team. We're already all elite.
Yeah.
But we can all get so much better.
Agreed.
And I would say also like our pipeline, our book of business is also a dream team.
Yes.
Because not only will they in 5 years be in a better position, but they're also going to be able to apply for bigger and better loans because we give them that advisory kind of, angle where we're not only just giving them a cash advance, but we're telling them, hey, take this cash advance, then do this, this, and this. And then if you do that, we're going to be able to do this. Now, they're not always going to follow through on it, but I would say at least 25 to 30% will follow through on it. And then they're going to naturally just qualify for better and bigger and better. And, a good quote I heard is that if you want to get something done, you ask somebody that's busy. So if these guys get busier and start making more money, that doesn't mean they're going to retire. They're probably going to want to expand more and get more capital. And that's what we're building here is just we're pretty much launching our clients into the best position possible financially. And that's going to make our country better, make our company better. And we're only going to be able to keep growing from there because of that fact.
Agreed.
Yeah. I'd really love to see the stat of, it's going to sound a little morbid, but I'd really love to see the stat 2 to 5 years from now on all the clients, all the business owners that chose to take their financing out with Lexington versus taking it out at all these other shops. And what's the percentage that actually where they're at, which ones went out of business?
We do understand
it
pretty well. Like we do have KPIs on our defaults and stuff like that, and they're very low. Yeah. And that's because we're honest, we're transparent, we tell the deal what it is. Whether it's a daily payment or a monthly payment, we're telling you what it is, what the amortization schedule is, what the factor rate is. You're knowing everything, every nuance, every early discount. If there's no early discount, you got to be very open and transparent, and that's how you build a long-term empire. And that's exactly what we're doing over here.
And I want to thank you three because I've been grinding away. I've been able to attend all of these SBA meetings and SBA training seminars, and this was this was my training right here.
You're welcome.
I love that.
Thank you, three.
Yeah,
I love you guys.
I love that. I love that. Well, guys,
I think this was a great episode.
I thought this was a great episode. Travis, thanks for coming on. Chris, thanks for coming on.
Thank you.
Now get some sleep. Travis and Appio, we're about to go get to it. And guys, if you haven't, click over here.
Smash that button.
Stay tuned. Show some love.